Good morning, and welcome to Morning Gospel Fuel with Mr. G. We've made it to Friday, as it is Friday, February 12th, the feast day of Saint Julian the Hospitaller, who I've never heard of before. Because now that I'm on year two, I'm trying to find new saints, because there's more than one saint that has a feast day on most days of the year. So I had to look up what a hospitaller was, which is evidently a charitable religious order back in the day, of which St. Julian the Hospitaller was supposedly born in 7 AD. So he was born during whenever Jesus was 7. They're about the same age. Anyway, St. Julian the Hospitaller is the patron saint of hospitality, as well as travelers who are seeking lodging. Today's gospel, as we continue through Mark, is from Mark chapter 7, verses 31 through 37. Let's begin in the name of the Father, Son, and Spirit. Amen. Again, he left the district of Tyre and went by way of Sidon to the Sea of Galilee, into the district of the Decapolis. And people brought to him a deaf man who had a speech impediment and begged him to lay his hand on him. He took him off by himself away from the crowd. He put his finger into the man's ears and, spitting, touched his tongue. Then he looked up to heaven and groaned and said to him, Ephphatha, that is, be opened. And immediately the man's ears were opened. His speech impediment was removed and he spoke plainly. He ordered them not to tell anyone, but the more he ordered them not to, the more they proclaimed it. They were exceedingly astonished, and they said, He has done all things well. He makes the deaf hear and the mute speak. Okay, today's gospel, the healing of a deaf man. So he goes to seek Jesus out to be healed. And if you... So this man is deaf, but he's not blind. So he can see what Jesus is doing. So again, try to put yourself in the story of the gospel. And you just see that Jesus put his finger into the man's ears and, spitting, touched his tongue. And then he looked up to heaven and groaned. Now, of course, the deaf man can't hear the groan, but he can see what Jesus is doing. And you sometimes just wonder what was going through the mind of the deaf man, of what Jesus was doing right now. Because I would be like, this dude's crazy. From Scripture, we tend to get the impression that a lot of people thought Jesus was crazy. So much that they put him to death. So, anyway. So as part of that gospel, I guess, and to get a challenge from this is how many of us are like, we're not deaf, otherwise we wouldn't be listening to this video, but how many of us are blind and we can't see? So it's kind of flipped on what we can and cannot do in this gospel if we relate it to this deaf man. So how many of us are blind where we can't see and recognize what God is doing in the present moment? I know I'm guilty of it quite often, almost every day, actually. So let's be that a challenge for me and you today, is to try to be alert and awake and paying attention to what's taking place right now, today, so that we don't miss something that God might be trying to tell us, either directly or indirectly through other people. So with that being said, have a great day. God bless, and keep it real. In the Father, Son, and Spirit. Amen.